When my parents told me about their 30th anniversary cruise, I was genuinely happy for them. They'd spent their lives working hard, building the kind of life they always said they wanted, one filled with memories, comfort, and the illusion of perfection. My father, a man of pride and routine, had always dreamed of retiring by the sea, while my mother, elegant and sharp, measured happiness in moments she could post about online. I'd always been the quiet one, the daughter who stayed behind the curtain, the one who paid bills no one talked about. After graduating, I'd worked tirelessly in a marketing firm, taking on extra clients, sacrificing weekends, all so I could help them through rough years. When Dad lost his job during the recession, I covered the mortgage. When Mom needed surgery, I handled the hospital fees. And when they said they wanted to celebrate their anniversary on a cruise, something classy, unforgettable, I told them not to worry about the money. "You've done enough for us," my mother said sweetly. "You deserve a break from helping." But she didn't argue when I paid anyway. I booked the entire trip, first-class suite, champagne package, even an upgrade for ocean view. I wanted them to have the experience they'd always dreamed of. It wasn't about recognition. I just wanted to give them peace, maybe feel like part of their joy for once. A week later, I was scrolling through group messages when my sister, the favorite, sent a photo of the invitation. Gold-embossed tickets, family names written in cursive. My stomach dropped when I saw everyone's name: Mom, Dad, my brother, my sister, even her boyfriend, but not mine. At first I thought it was a mistake. I called my mother immediately, trying to sound casual. "Hey, I saw the cruise invites. Mine didn't come yet?" There was a pause. Then her voice, polite but distant. "Oh, honey, we didn't think you'd be interested. You're always so busy." I laughed, but it came out shaky. "I booked it, Mom. I literally paid for it." "Yes, and we're so grateful, but we thought you'd rather use your vacation for something personal. Time for yourself." My throat tightened. "So you're saying I bought tickets for everyone but me?" Another silence. "It's just one trip, sweetheart. Don't make it about that." I hung up before I said something I'd regret. The walls of my apartment suddenly felt smaller, the city lights outside too far away to reach. They were leaving in 3 days, and I wasn't even on the list. I didn't tell anyone. I didn't post online, didn't rant or cry. I just sat there and watched as my family's photos began popping up on social media, boarding the ship, holding drinks, smiling beneath blue skies. My gift to them. Their happiness bought with my silence. I told myself it didn't matter, that I'd long stopped expecting to be included. But the truth was, no matter how much success you earn, some part of you always wants your parents to see you, not as the provider, not as the problem solver, but as someone worth loving without conditions. The night they set sail, I couldn't sleep. I scrolled through the cruise's live updates, watching strangers laugh under string lights while the ocean stretched infinite and blue behind them. Somewhere out there, my family was celebrating, and I was here, invisible again. Then around midnight, my phone buzzed. A message from Dad. Just 2 words. "We need to talk." I stared at the phone for what felt like forever, the glow of those 2 words cutting through the dark like a crack in the night. We need to talk. It wasn't my father's style to text that late, let alone at all. He was the kind of man who still printed directions and signed birthday cards instead of sending emojis. My first thought was panic. Had something gone wrong on the ship? I typed, "Is everything okay?" But before I could hit send, another message appeared. "I'm sorry." My heart stopped for a second. Sorry for what? Sorry I wasn't there? Sorry I wasn't invited? Or sorry for something else entirely? I typed back, "What happened?" But the typing bubble vanished and didn't return. I waited, staring at the screen until it dimmed and reflected my face back at me. Tired eyes, unbrushed hair, that familiar mix of strength and loneliness that had become my armor. I set the phone down and tried to tell myself I was imagining things, that Maybe he'd had too much to drink. Maybe he was feeling sentimental. But then, a few minutes later, another message arrived. Check your email. I opened my laptop, my fingers trembling as I logged in. There it was. An email from my father, time-stamped 12:17 a.m., subject line, about the cruise. I clicked it, expecting a half-hearted apology. Instead, it began with a confession. I didn't know you paid for the trip, he wrote. Your mother told me the cruise line offered her a loyalty discount. When I found out yesterday, I wanted to tell you thank you, but it's complicated. I reread the line, my stomach twisting. Complicated. The word he always used when emotions got in the way of his pride. Your mother didn't want to invite you because she thought it would be uncomfortable, the email continued. She said you'd judge her friends, that you'd spend the trip working on your laptop, not relaxing. I told her she was wrong, but I didn't fight hard enough. I felt something inside me crack. My own mother had excluded me from a trip I paid for, not because I wasn't welcome, but because she thought I'd ruin her image. My fingers hovered over the keyboard. I wanted to write back, to scream through the screen, "You let her do that?" But then I saw the final lines of his message. You've always been the strong one, Alina, the one who never needed us. Maybe that's why it was easy for her to forget you. It wasn't right, and I see that now. I just wanted you to know, I'm proud of you. Always have been, even when I didn't say it. Dad. I didn't realize I was crying until the tears blurred the words on the screen. My father wasn't perfect. He had a lifetime of silence to answer for. But this small, clumsy attempt at honesty felt like the first real thing he'd ever said to me. I wiped my face and typed back. Thank you. Be safe. I thought that would be the end of it, but the next morning I woke to another message. This time, a photo. It was taken from the deck of the ship, the ocean stretching endlessly behind him, wind in his hair, phone in his hand. He'd sent it with one caption. Wish you were here. Simple, almost cliché, but I could tell it wasn't for show. For the first time, he meant it. Still, something about that picture haunted me. Maybe it was the angle, taken from below, as if he'd asked someone else to hold the camera. Or maybe it was the woman standing just barely in the corner of the frame. Not my mother. Someone else. I zoomed in, pulse racing. Her back was turned, but the detail was unmistakable. The same silver bracelet I'd bought my mom 2 Christmases ago. I frowned, confused. Why would someone else be wearing it? Before I could think further, my phone buzzed again, this time a call. Dad. I answered immediately, but all I could hear was static and faint voices. Dad? Hello? I pressed the phone tighter to my ear. A sound came through, his voice, faint but urgent. Elena, don't... The line cut out. I called back, but it went straight to voicemail. I checked my messages again, but there was nothing new. Just those 2 words staring at me from the night before. I'm sorry. I felt the chill crawl down my spine. My family had left me out for image, for comfort, for pride. But now as the silence deepened, I had the sense that something far darker was floating beneath the surface. I opened my laptop again, searching for the cruise's tracking page. The ship had departed Miami 2 days ago, but now, strangely, it wasn't pinging any location updates. Just one line blinking at the bottom of the screen. Signal lost. By the next morning, I had read my father's email at least 20 times, each line slicing differently depending on the angle of my mood. Hurt, confusion, anger, fear. I couldn't tell if his sudden honesty was redemption or a confession of guilt. The words "signal lost" still blinked at the bottom of the cruise line tracker, mocking me like a heartbeat that refused to stop. Ships didn't just disappear, not in the 21st century, not with GPS and satellite coverage, yet there it was. No coordinates, no updates, nothing but silence. I called the cruise company, pretending to be a journalist so they'd tell me something, anything. After being passed between customer service and a manager, a soft-voiced woman finally said, "Ma'am,
The vessel encountered a communication blackout yesterday evening due to a severe storm in the Caribbean. We've reestablished partial contact this morning. Everyone's fine. I exhaled, tension loosening slightly, though something in her tone didn't match her words. Partial contact? I pressed. Yes, ma'am. They're rerouting to Puerto Rico for safety inspections. Limited Wi-Fi and phone service until then. I thanked her and hung up, staring at my phone. Partial contact. It wasn't enough. My gut told me there was more to this. Dad's half-finished call, his apology, that strange photo with the unfamiliar woman in Mom's bracelet. It all spun in my mind like a riddle I didn't want to solve. I tried texting him again. Are you okay? Then please call me. No response. I told myself to calm down, to stop spiraling, but the truth was I'd spent too many years learning to read between his silences. And this silence felt wrong. By noon, I was already booking a flight to San Juan. Logic screamed that I was overreacting. Emotion didn't care. I told my boss I was taking personal leave and packed a single suitcase. As the plane lifted off, the city shrinking below, I thought about my childhood, family vacations that always looked perfect in photos but felt empty in memory. The way my parents performed love like it was theater, and me always seated in the audience. I'd spent so long trying to buy their affection with effort, with gifts, with quiet loyalty. Maybe I was flying now not because I feared something had happened, but because I couldn't stand being left out one more time. When I landed in San Juan, the air was heavy with salt and heat. The harbor shimmered under the sun, dotted with yachts and cruise ships gleaming like floating cities. I checked the local port schedules. The Euphoria Star, my family ship, was due to dock the next morning. I checked into a small seaside hotel, but sleep was impossible. Every time I closed my eyes, I heard my father's broken voice in that final call. Elena, don't what? Don't worry? Don't trust? Don't find out? The question gnawed at me until dawn painted the sea pink and gold. I went down to the port early, pretending to be just another tourist waiting for a loved one. When the ship finally appeared on the horizon, sleek and white, a strange tightness filled my chest. Cameras flashed, families waved, laughter filled the air. But as the passengers disembarked, I couldn't spot my parents. Not my mother's graceful posture, not my father's familiar gray hair. I scanned the crowd again, pulse rising. Then I saw her, my sister, standing near customs, face pale, clutching her phone like a lifeline. I called her name, and she spun around. The relief on her face was instant, followed by confusion. "What are you doing here?" she asked, voice trembling. "I could ask you the same. Where are Mom and Dad?" She hesitated, eyes darting away. "They're inside, talking to the authorities." My stomach dropped. Authorities? Why? She bit her lip, tears filling her eyes. "It's Dad. He collapsed last night. They said it was a heart attack, but..." Her words cracked. "He's gone, Elena." The world blurred. I felt the dock tilt beneath me, the sound of seagulls and engines fading into static. Gone. The man who'd texted, "I'm sorry," less than 48 hours ago. The man who tried to tell me something I didn't understand. My sister's voice broke through the noise. He was fine all week, laughing, dancing, but last night he argued with Mom after dinner. Then he went out on the deck. When we found him, it was too late. My throat dried. Argued about what? She wiped her face. I don't know. She wouldn't tell me. She just said it wasn't important. Not important. The words hit like ice. My father had never been the type to raise his voice, especially not on a vacation. For him to argue that fiercely meant something had cracked wide open. And then there was that woman in the photo. "Did you see anyone with him before it happened?" I asked. My sister frowned. "There was someone, one of the passengers, I think, a woman in a red dress. They talked a lot. Mom didn't like it." I nodded, every puzzle piece falling into a shape I didn't want to recognize. I looked toward the ship, gleaming under the sun like nothing had happened. And for the first time, I understood the weight behind his last message. "We need to talk. I'm sorry." He hadn't been apologizing for the cruise. He'd been apologizing for something far older, far deeper. Something buried in our family long before the ship ever left the shore. The police station in San Juan was small and smelled faintly of salt and disinfectant, the kind of place where time seemed to stretch and shrink all at once. I sat there beside my mother, who looked like a shadow of herself, her perfect curls limp, her lipstick smudged, her diamond bracelet dull under the fluorescent lights. She stared straight ahead, hands clasped tightly in her lap, saying nothing. I hadn't spoken either. The silence between us was thick with all the years of things we'd never said. Finally, an officer walked over, hat in hand. "Mrs. Torres," he said gently, "we've finished the paperwork. The autopsy will be completed in Miami, but the preliminary report confirms cardiac arrest." My mother nodded mechanically, her voice barely audible. "Thank you." When he left, I turned to her. "You argued with him." Her eyes flickered, but she didn't look at me. "Who told you that?" "Mia." Her jaw clenched. "It wasn't a fight. It was a discussion." "About what?" "It doesn't matter now." "It matters to me," I said, my voice sharper than I intended. "Because he called me, Mom. He texted me. He said he was sorry. He wanted to talk." She finally looked at me then, really looked. And for a moment I saw fear, not grief, behind her eyes. "You shouldn't have come," she whispered. "Why not?" "Because you don't know what you're asking for." I leaned forward, heart pounding. "Then tell me." She exhaled slowly, like someone standing at the edge of a confession. "He was going to tell you himself. I told him not to." "Tell me what?" She looked down at her bracelet, the same one I'd seen on that stranger in the photo. "It wasn't mine," she said quietly. "It was hers." The room tilted slightly. "Whose?" "Her name was Angela," she said, her voice brittle. "Your father met her years ago. She worked at his office. It was a mistake, one he swore ended a long time ago, but apparently it didn't. She was on the cruise, Elena. That woman in the red dress. I saw them talking. I confronted him. He said it wasn't what I thought, that he was trying to fix something, but I didn't believe him." I sat back, stunned. "So you left me out to protect your image, but you invited his mistress instead?" "Watch your tone," she snapped, the old sharpness returning like a reflex. "You think this is about vanity? It's about humiliation. Do you know what it's like to have your husband betray you in front of your own children?" "You didn't just lose a husband," I said coldly. "I lost a father, one who was finally trying to tell the truth." She flinched, eyes filling with tears, but she didn't deny it. "He didn't mean to hurt you, Elena. He was ashamed. That's why he wanted to talk. He wanted to make it right. And you stopped him." "Yes," she said, voice cracking, "because I couldn't bear to hear him say it out loud." The confession hung between us, heavy and raw. I should have felt vindicated, but instead I just felt tired of carrying the weight of their mistakes, tired of being the collateral damage in a story that was never mine. I stood up, pacing the small room. "He was trying to reach me. He called me because he didn't want it to end like this." My mother looked up, pleading. "Elena, please, don't turn this into hate. You're better than that." I shook my head. "No, Mom, I'm just done pretending." Outside, the sun was setting, the light turning the water beyond the harbor into liquid gold. I walked until I found myself standing at the pier where the ship was docked, the same one that had carried all our secrets out to sea and brought them back as ghosts. The breeze was warm, and somewhere nearby a street musician played a slow, aching tune on a violin. I took out my phone and scrolled through my father's last messages one more time. "I'm sorry. We need to talk." Those words felt different now. He hadn't just been apologizing for not inviting me. He'd been apologizing for everything. The years of distance, the silence, the secrets. I closed my eyes, letting the sounds of the harbor fill the space he'd left behind. When I opened them again, I saw someone walking toward me. A woman. Tall, dark hair, a red shawl over her shoulders. My stomach tightened. It was her, Angela. She stopped a few feet away, her face pale but composed. "You must be Elena," she said softly. "I saw you at the station." "Why are you here?" I asked, my voice trembling. "Because I need you to know the truth. Your father didn't die because of the argument. He'd been sick for months. Heart disease. He refused treatment, said he didn't deserve it after what he did to your family." I stared at her, unable to speak. "He came on that cruise to end things with me properly. He said he needed to make peace with his wife, with you. He asked me to be there so there would be no more lies." My throat burned. "So all this time, he was trying to do the right thing?" She nodded, tears glinting in her eyes. "He loved you, Elena. He talked about you all the time, said you were the best thing he ever did right." I turned away, blinking hard, the waves shimmering under the fading light. The anger that had been building inside me for days began to dissolve, replaced by something gentler, heavier. "He tried," I whispered. "He really tried." Angela reached into her bag and pulled out a folded letter. "He wrote this the night before he died. He asked me to give it to you if he didn't get the chance himself." I hesitated, then took it. Her eyes softened. "He wanted you to know that you were never forgotten." When she walked away, disappearing into the crowd, I unfolded the letter with shaking hands. It was brief, written in his uneven handwriting. "Elena, I'm sorry for every time I made you feel unseen. I thought strength meant distance. You proved me wrong. Don't carry my mistakes. Build something better. Love, Dad." I read it 3 times before the tears came, warm and endless, washing away years of quiet resentment. The ocean shimmered before me, vast and endless, and for the first time, I let it all go. I flew home 2 days later with my father's letter tucked safely inside my journal, folded so many times it had softened at the edges, like something alive that had breathed through my hands. The ocean looked endless beneath the plane, sunlight scattering over its surface in sharp silver flashes. For the first time in a long time, I wasn't watching the horizon hoping for escape. I was watching it to understand how vast forgiveness could be. When the wheels touched down, my phone lit up with messages. Mia checking if I'd landed, my boss saying not to worry about work, and surprisingly, one from my mother. "Dinner tonight? Just us?" I stared at it for a long moment before typing back, "Okay." Her house felt different when I arrived. The lights were dimmer, the air quieter, as if the walls themselves were holding their breath. She was in the kitchen, sleeves rolled up, cooking, a rare sight. The smell of garlic and rosemary filled the room, and when she saw me in the doorway, she smiled the kind of small, uncertain smile that belongs to someone trying to start over. "You're early," she said. "I didn't want to be late," I replied. For a while, we said nothing. The rhythm of her chopping vegetables was steady, grounding. "I didn't think you'd come," she said finally. "I wasn't sure I would," I admitted. She nodded, not meeting my eyes. "I don't know how to do this," she whispered. "Neither do I said. "But maybe that's okay." We ate quietly at the dining table, the same one that had witnessed 1,000 silent dinners and careful conversations. This time, the silence felt different, less like a wall and more like a bridge waiting to be crossed. After a while, I took out the letter, unfolded it, and slid it across the table. "He wanted you to see this." She hesitated before picking it up, her hands trembling slightly. As she read, her lips pressed together and tears began to slide down her cheeks. "He wrote to you," she said softly. "He wrote to us," I corrected. "He wanted both of us to stop carrying his mistakes." She looked at me through her tears. "You look like him when you say things like that." "Maybe," I said.
but I'd like to think I learned to love better than he did. After dinner, we sat in the living room, the fire crackling softly. On the mantel sat a photo from their anniversary trip years ago, before everything cracked open, both of them smiling under a sunset. I realized then that my parents had never been villains. They were just flawed people trying to hold together something imperfect, and sometimes that meant hurting the ones they loved most. My mother stared at the flames for a long time before saying, "He told me once that you were the strongest person he knew. I didn't understand it then. I do now." I smiled faintly. Strength isn't loud, Mom. It's just choosing to keep your heart open when it would be easier to close it. Later that night, I walked out to the back porch. The air was cool, the moon hanging low and gold over the dark trees. I took the letter from my pocket, read it one last time, and then folded it carefully before setting it on the small table beside me. I whispered, "I forgive you, Dad." It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't even painful. It just felt right, like a tide finally reaching the shore after years of circling the same currents. Behind me, my mother joined me on the porch, wrapping a shawl around her shoulders. "He would have been proud of you," she said quietly. "Maybe," I said, "but I'd like to think that I learned to love better than he did." As dawn broke, the first light touched the edge of the porch, spilling over my hands. My mother was dozing in her chair beside me, her face relaxed in a way I hadn't seen in years. I stood up, breathed in the new morning, and whispered a quiet goodbye to the ghosts that had followed me this far. I didn't need their approval anymore. I didn't need their validation. I had given love where it wasn't returned, patience where it wasn't earned, and still somehow I had become whole. The horizon glowed brighter, the world waking up again, and I smiled, the kind that comes from knowing you've survived and still chosen kindness. My phone buzzed once on the railing, a message from my sister. "Mom says she's glad you came. So am I. Love you." I typed back, "Love you too." And as I watched the sun lift itself over the trees, I felt something deep and certain settle in my chest. I hadn't been invited on their cruise. I hadn't been part of their plans. But maybe in the end, life had sent me on a different journey altogether, the one that mattered most.